The other day, I was getting ready, prepared to begin one of these moments that we're having together now, one of these Facebook Lives. And about 10 minutes before it was going to start, roughly live, the computer that I was using, somebody else's computer, suddenly flipped into restarting. You know, the little circle that goes round and around. Not my favorite thing to see right before I'm going to do something live. Usually I get a warning from Microsoft or somebody that says, would you like to update now or whatever, but not this time. The computer just restarted. It didn't ask my permission. And then it said, configuring updates. And we all know that's an unpredictable process. We're getting second by second closer to starting time. The configuration process or progress was displayed as it happened. You've all seen that. Sometimes it uses a number and sometimes a little progress bar. And at first, nothing. It said 0 progress. Now I'm thinking, this is going to be late. People are going to be sitting around waiting. But I remembered past such experiences. And usually it starts indicating progress. Suddenly it said 2% progress. Well, not thrilled, but it moved. That's infinitely more than 0. 3, then 8, then and you've all watched this. Then it gets to 16 and it just stays there and goes to sleep. And I'm thinking, we're doomed. But I'm not terribly excited because nobody's going to die. I just don't like making people wait. Then suddenly 21, 22, 23, 70, done. On the whole, if the progress bar or the completion numbers are twitching forward at all, in my overall experience, I've only seen it a few hundred times, the task will complete. If there is no movement after waiting for a good while, or it gets just stuck on, 7%, it's probably going to fail. But if it even twitches periodically, however erratically, that's a pretty good sign. It is the same or similar with learning how to parent. Keep moving. Your progress might be twitchy. You might seem to go nowhere for a while. It might look like you're stuck at 16%, like my computer was. But as long as you keep moving forward, because you can't see the end goal, it's kind of annoying at times that you're going, when do I get to finish this job? Well, parenting, never. But when do I get this principle? Keep going, and you'll get there. Now, when you get there, you're going to discover there's more there to get, but that's okay. Change never happens quickly, rarely predictably, rarely steadily. Just keep going. Keep the progress bar moving, twitching, and you'll get further than you ever imagined. Get help. Talk to other parents. Come to this Facebook page. Come to the parenting discussion group on realloveparents.com. Take the training. Get answers to your questions. And more important even than the answers to your questions, a man wrote me the other day and he said, I just have one question. How do I blank? It was a very concrete thing with his child. And I said, I could give you the answer. In fact, this time I will. And you won't know how to deliver it. So more important than the questions is you getting the love and support you need so that when you go to love and teach your children, you have the loving part. Otherwise, you're just going to teach them and they're going to be thinking, you're annoying me. Could you please move away from the screen? I'm playing a game. New subject. This is from a mother who's been doing the parenting training for a good while. She said, my daughter Alana has been spending more time with me just hanging around me. People are confined to home, and so she's around more, but she could hang around a lot of places. Outside, in the garage, notably her room, and she's hanging around you. That's beautiful. She used to avoid you because you've talked about it. She's feeling your love. That's how kids demonstrate that. It's not a thing you say, it's how you're being. And for all parents who are listening, this is what we're looking for. This is what we're trying to help you get to the place where you are just more loving. They listen better. They learn better. In fact, they don't learn when you're not loving. They want to be around you. Mom says, but sometimes she really challenges me and pouts, and she says things that are dismissive and disrespectful. It's hard to understand. It's like she's trying to find things to make me go away. Probably not consciously, but yeah, she might be doing that. You really have changed a lot. We talked about the effects of change on children in the last Facebook Live. But the times that you have been, the overall time that you've been consistently loving with her has been compared to her whole life, kind of like this. It's almost like a freak moment, just a flash. It's been pretty short. The past was huge for her, not just in terms of its length and volume, but the fact that the past determined how she saw the world when she was youngest. And when children are the youngest, the impression that they get of the world tends to be the impression they carry with them for the rest of their lives. Neuroscientists refer to this time of special elasticity, or plasticity is what they call it. And sometimes we'll say, by age 4, that's pretty much it for determining the personality of the kid. 4. She wants your change to be true. She does. You have that advantage. I don't have that advantage. You do. She wants your love. So she wants it to be true that you're learning how to love her. But the old pain will surface, and then she begins to doubt, and she wants to see if the old you is going to show up. So yeah, there's a part of her that's testing you, but it's not conscious. She didn't walk into the room and go, let's poke mom a time or two and see what she does. And that's okay. It's understandable. Just keep loving her and teaching her. Not complicated. Loving and teaching over and over and over. What if they're snotty? And loving and teaching. And teaching sometimes involves consequences. Not most of the time. Establish a pattern that she can trust. Once you've established the pattern, oh, you win. Don't push her to believe you. Parents will make this mistake sometimes. Parents who are doing real love and parents who are not. I've heard this phrase told to me by the children as spoken by their parents, and I've heard parents say this. You know that I've always loved you. If a child doesn't feel loved and you say that, now they already know you didn't love them. Now they think that you're a liar and you're manipulating them, and now they get angry. So you don't push them to believe that you love them. You establish the pattern. One mother told me, I would give anything to convince my daughter that I love her. And I said, then you're doomed. You're done. You're dead. And that's what you've been doing with her all of your life. You've been giving her things, doing things for her to convince her that you love her rather than learning to actually love her. And she knows the dang difference. Your daughter does. She can feel it. And it really irritates her that you keep trying to convince her, because once again, you're trying to convince her for your benefit. And she's pretty tired of you doing things with her for you, as any child does get tired. New subject. This is from a mother who's experienced with the parenting training. She says, we're getting better at zero tolerance in our family. That means that every time somebody is anything other than the 3 things that lead to happiness in a family, loved, loving, or responsible, we simply point it out. We don't tell them to stop it. We're not irritated at them. We just hold them accountable. That's a great word, as long as it's not followed by a lecture. We hold them accountable for their behavior. How do you change anything and make it move forward unless you're accountable? You got to know where you are. You walk to a mall and you want to go to a particular store, Fred's store. And so you go look at the map of the mall. Oh, there's Fred's store over there, but you don't know spit, do you? You got to know where you are first. And there's this little red arrow and a little sign that says, you are here. You got to know where you are before you can head where you want to go. And that's what accountability does. It tells a child who's being snotty, dismissive, ungrateful, attacking, whatever. So, sweetie, right now, you're attacking your brother. That tells them you are here in the mall. And you don't want to just sit there in the entryway to the mall as the people open and close the door and smack you in the face. You said that you wanted to be over here, which is the loving and happy place. Well, you can't get there if you think that's where you already are. You can't. So we hold them accountable. I'm mom speaking, and I'm paraphrasing sort of back and forth, and it doesn't matter which is which. But mom says we hold them accountable so we can talk about it, so they can see their behavior and make a decision about whether to continue that behavior or not. That's brilliant. You teach children so they can decide whether to keep making that choice or not. If it's a good choice, they might continue to make it. If it's a stupid choice, they can see the difference between you are here and where they want to go. Yesterday, mom says, my son asked my daughter a question about how to do something. And while she was in the middle of answering, he began. So son asked daughter a question. Daughter's answering the question. She's speaking. He began to look at his computer while she was answering his question. So she's the speaker. And what's he doing if he's looking at the computer? Ignoring her. I don't care about you. That's what he's saying. Oh, no, I'm multitasking. Oh, eliminate that word from your vocabulary. Never hear it again in your family. Nobody multitasks. That's not possible. All you do is sequentially task. So I'm paying attention to you for a second. I'm completely ignoring you for a second while I do multitask. No. Then I pay attention to you. Unfortunately, while I was doing this thing over here, I missed the critical 3 words you said over here that you've been waiting to say for, 10 years. Doesn't work to multitask. She tried to get his attention, but he didn't let her finish her answer. The answer to the question he asked. She began to huff and puff with impatience and frustration. See how they're both screwing this up. She's huffing and puffing because he's not paying attention, and he's not paying attention. They're both wrong. So what do? Well, see what mom did. So we all talked about how we could do this differently. And we worked out that if somebody, we'll call them the listener, is being rude and not listening when somebody else, let's call them the speaker, that would play into our family rule of 0 tolerance for being unloving. Because it's unloving to ignore somebody who's the speaker. First thing you do is listen. It doesn't mean you have to do what they say, but you sure start with listening. Then the person talking, the speaker, will raise their hand and say, stop. Hang on, brief little computer problem here. Here we are. So somebody's not listening, then the speaker will say, stop, just to get the attention of the person who is not listening. It's never to stop somebody from being themselves. Then the speaker will ask the person who's not paying attention, what are you doing right now? See, that makes it really clear. You asked me a question. I'm speaking. What are you doing right now? Gives the non-listener an opportunity to say, I'm paying attention to my computer and I'm not listening to you. See? As opposed to saying, you realize that you're being stupid and inconsiderate. It works better to ask a question and see if they can identify their behavior. Only an hour later, mom says, an opportunity arose to use this potential problem-solving approach. Again, my son asked a question, and before his sister was done answering, he didn't look at the computer this time. No, this time he rolled his eyes and was clearly not listening. I mean, everybody understands this gesture. Everyone. If you were talking and I did that to you, you would immediately feel dismissed because, well, you would be. So she raised her hand, just like we talked about, and she said, stop. Everybody understands this too. It doesn't mean how many fingers am I holding. And he did. He stopped. He remembered the conversation. And she said, what are you doing? Well, so she did it right. He responded right. But then he didn't want to answer. So she said, we can talk about it now, you and me, or we can talk about it at the family meeting. Mom was just listening in from the other room. Not intentionally. She doesn't walk around with her ear to the wall. But the sister said, you want to talk about it now, or do you want to talk about it at the family meeting? And he frowned, and he rolled his eyes again, and realized that he didn't want to have this discussion twice. So he said, I was being selfish and unloving. Really? And meant it. Now, slight reluctance. Duh. I mean, who likes to say, oh, yes, my name is Shirley, and I am selfish and unloving. It's not a favorite introduction. But he admitted that he was selfish and unloving. And the conflict was over. Because they had already established this way to stop that pattern of not listening. They did it. They followed the pattern. Conflict finished. Proves that it works. Then he listened until she finished answering his question. This is brilliant, what this mother did and what these two kids did. I mean, they're all heroes. This is loving and teaching. No principle is worth anything unless it is practically applied. People say, well, I've read the parenting book, and then they describe their interaction with the kids, and I'm going, useless. Which is why we go into such greater detail and give examples of how to solve these things in the ridiculously effective parenting training. But even then, there are people who watch that and don't apply it. How can we apply a new principle? How can we learn unless we first admit the times when we're not living that principle? Just like we talked about with the mall. I am here. Where I want to go is there. That would make me wrong. I'm in the wrong place. Or I'm behaving in the wrong way. If the place I want to go to is called loving, then right now, how am I behaving? Not loving. It doesn't make me bad. Doesn't make me unteachable. Doesn't make me irredeemable. I'm just not being loving. I have to admit that first. We have to admit being unloving before we can become loving. It's not just so that we're bad, but most of us have been unloving for so long that we don't recognize when we're unloving. It's become normal. We need the help of other people who are not caught up in the fear and the anger or whatever is unloving, who can see what we're doing better than we can. And that's the reason for family meetings and for parents. A family working together toward feeling loved, being loving, and being responsible is a miraculous thing to behold. If this mother can do it, so can you. And it's more fun than you can imagine. It sure beats everything else that we've tried. We'll see you tomorrow.